Hi everyone, Rapthany League Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it is time for a review of the new 2 Chainz record, Rap or Go to the League. This is the latest record from Georgia rapper 2 Chainz, who despite his age at this point, he's really not that much younger than Jay-Z, is still seen as a relatively fresh face in the current rap landscape. While 2 Chainz and at one point Titty Boy has been at it for years, it's still been less than a decade since his Def Jam debut with Based on a True Story. An album I didn't really like all that much when I initially reviewed it. It has grown on me since then, because even though in some respects this album may be super materialistic, kind of basic, a little rudimentary, 2 Chainz has a wild, eccentric personality that just I can't get enough of. When he's at peak 2 Chainz anyway. Sadly, most of 2 Chainz' output past this point has been nowhere near as bold. We have the predictable and unambitious Boats 2, his flop of a collaborative album with Lil Wayne. Pretty Girls Like Trap Music was kind of a return to form, but 2 Chainz unfortunately on this record was kind of drowning in mediocre features. And Rap or Go to the League is not nearly as out there as some 2 Chainz fans might want him to be, but it does present an interesting change of pace. There are bangers on here, there are pop rap anthems, there are totally over-the-top and tongue-in-cheek lyrics, yes. But this album is also 2 Chainz' most personal record yet, I guess you could say his most mature. Especially on the first leg of this thing as he trips down memory lane, thinking about playing basketball and his aspirations to keep doing that dominated his youth, rapping about his family and his loved ones that he's lost, the cycle of crime and poverty and violence that many black youth find themselves caught in. It's not exactly the most deep and detailed dive into these topics you're ever going to hear, but being someone who survived these obstacles, 2 Chainz does have some compelling things to say on these topics, as well as some regrets to air out. There are moments on these cuts where his delivery falls a little flat, like on Threat to Society, but you can tell he's still speaking from the heart as he's riding on top of this classic, soulful Ninth Wonder beat. The production on Money in the Way sounds like something fans of Kanye's beats in the early and mid-2000s would love. And even though 2 Chainz doesn't litter this entire album with super deep and personal tracks, a lot of the themes from these initial songs on this album do pepper throughout a lot of the lyrics on the rest of this album. So while this album does kick off kind of mellow and emotional, it does not take long for Chainz to start coming through with his usual blend of slightly weird and quirky trap bangers. I do like the attitude and the vibe of Statute of Limitations, even if there aren't that many zany quotables coming out of the song. 2 Chainz and Young Thug on the next track are a pretty logical marriage of voices, but honestly, Thugger demands way more attention on the song than 2 Chainz does, who mostly just sounds like he's on autopilot. The Travis Scott feature on the next cut, of course, drives the song into a psychedelic wash of effects. And I don't know what to say about this track, other than that it's getting really obnoxious that Travis Scott seems to be the special case in rap right now, where having him on your track means a top-to-bottom build around his sound and around his style. It's like if you had a particular friend who, when you had over your house, you had to arrange the furniture in it to his liking. And of course, 2 Chainz is doing this because he wants to fit in that current wave of trippy psychedelic sicko mode trap. But at the end of the day, this track and many recent Travis Scott features just sound like a watered down version of a song that could have been on that album. An Astroworld leftover. I actually don't think 2 Chainz drops a classic 2 Chainz cut on this record until NCAA, where I Use Good Pussy Like It's Lotion is most likely the most ridiculous bar on this entire record. The heat turns up on Mama I Hit a Lick, which features one of the most quirky and clunky instrumentals on the entire album. 2 Chainz' performance here is insane. Kendrick Lamar's feature is one of the most subdued he's ever done, but there's kind of a strange quality to it that grabs your ear really quickly. 2 Chainz and Ariana Grande cross paths once again on the track Rule the World, which kind of sounds like a classic pop rap and R&B blend from the 2000s, with some gorgeous synth strings and some glamorous pianos and some boom-bappy beats. It's pretty formulaic. It's not blowing me away or anything, but it is nice to hear 2 Chainz make an effective transition into writing more romantic verses on this thing. I like the song $2 Bill a lot, but with 2 Chainz' insistence that he's rare, that he's special, that he's different, he's pretty much written this song already. It was the song I'm Different off of Based on a True Story. Except now it's got a really great Lil Wayne and an E40 feature. The instrumental vibe of both of these tracks is even eerily similar. The song I Said Me is another highlight for me on this record. It is one of the more introspective cuts off of this thing, but it's delivered in this very frank and blunt way where it seems like 2 Chainz is almost embracing humor a little bit. I mostly like the song for its verses that dive into and unpack some of the dark pathways that have brought 2 Chainz to this point in his life. Although the vocal sample of My Favorite Things laced into the beat is a little unnecessary, it drags the intro out way too long, and the few shots that it pops up within the core of the track just sounds really tacked on. There are definitely highlights on this record. There are tracks that I see as kind of passable or average for 2 Chainz, but there are a handful of low points as well. 2 Chainz' very awkward and kind of sung hook on I'm Not Crazy Life is completely horrible. It definitely doesn't do the song's pretty strong theme justice, nor the quality Chance the Rapper and even Kodak Black features. There's the obnoxious Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, and then also the closing track Sam, which is, I guess, an explanation of how taxes work. It just seems really tone deaf to drop a track like this given the current state of wealth inequality and how prevalent this conversation is becoming in the political mainstream. Like, obviously these societal problems are not 2 Chainz' fault. I don't really care how many millions 2 Chainz has in the bank off of rapping and real estate investments. And I can see in the lyrics he's kind of working his way out of his feelings over this and saying, hey, I've been on both sides, the poverty side and the success side, but honestly it still feels like an out-of-touch lament and a struggle that's hardly worth dwelling over. What exactly the point or the takeaway was for the track, I don't know. And why it tops the album off as if it's like this significant emotional statement, I don't know why either. Overall, this album is decent. It's got a lot of listenable cuts on it, a handful of pretty good ones. It does get a little shaky toward the end, and I'm not sure if some fans are really going to take all that well to 2 Chainz getting kind of deep and kind of woke and maybe even a little politically charged in the first leg of the record. While I don't mind it, and I think it certainly shows a refreshing side of 2 Chainz, that's not really been his MO up until this point, and I don't know if his fans are really demanding that message or that sound from him. Still feeling a light to decent 6 on this thing. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, 2 Chainz, forever.